Nigeria's economy is deeply tied to importation, from essential goods to industrial materials. However, the recent increase in import tariffs has raised concerns across multiple sectors.
From car dealers to food importers, businesses are feeling the heat. Consumers are not left out, as the rising cost of imported goods are already impacting the daily lives of many Nigerians. Welcome to the morning show. Good morning, Africa. My name is Nonso. I have with me the very delectable and very beautiful, elegant Joyce in the studio.
All of these acronyms or descriptions for me. Well, thank you so much, Ubong. I'm Joyce, and we're not sitting idly by, with the recent news about what is going on at our ports and borders. Importers are crying, business owners are also wailing, and the end users, who happens to be you and I, are also going to feel the heat. We'll get to feel the heat of all of what is going on. So we're looking at the recent increment, the importation increment at the ports that would form the basis of our conversation this morning.
Yeah.
Obama, I hope you slept well, and you're ready to shoot right.
Yeah, I'm actually very ready, because this is something that concerns all of us Nigerians. We have so many things. Sorry that we are not really a producing economy. So sometimes some of the things we use for day-to-day activities are gotten from outside. But when it gets to the port, you hear people complain of these tariffs, and it is about time we talk about this, because I think it's something that should be fixed, because Nigerians deserve to breathe get some form of relief at the end of the day.
Okay, so we'll share our thoughts, we'll get an expert to comment. We'll also get on the streets of Abuja to find out the pulse of the people. But before then, let's take this dose, our usual dose of inspiration. It's the I Can Make It segment. Enjoy it.
Hello viewers, welcome to today's episode of I Can Make It, and you will surely make it. Is a statement that the champion inside of you is what is speaking, and I want you to continue to tell yourself I can make it. In the morning, tell yourself I can make it. In the afternoon, tell yourself I can make it. In the night, tell yourself I can make it, and by the mercies and grace of God, you will surely make it. Today we want to look at this word persistency. Persistency. Persistency is for you to continue to do something continuously until you get the required result or the desired result. Persistency is very key in life. Many people, after they have tried, after probably the first, second, third, fourth time they have been failing, they will come up and tell you that I don't think I have grace in this area, I don't think I can make it. See, when you are persistent doing it, even if you failed before now, what is happening is that you are learning how to get a better result without failing. So when you are persistent, it will help you to keep evolving. And this is what sustains life for you to become a successful person. The better you evolve greater solutions in life, the better for you to be able to dominate whatever is coming around you. So we all need to be persistent. Let's take, for example, if you want to build a house. You want to build a house. You know that a house, you don't build a house in just 3 days. You have to probably clear the ground. You have to do the digging of the foundation. You have to do the blinding. You have to do the first filling, the German floor. So a builder that is having the mind that I want to build a house is persistent, is consistent, is doing everything he ought to do stage by stage. Now, this is it about life. Success is a combination of many factors in life. You need to do many things before you can become successful. So when you are persistent, you are consistent, you are doing what you should do, you will now see yourself, you begin to progress in life. You begin to go from one level to another level. But if you see someone that is telling himself, I cannot make it, the person is not persistent, persistent, you will discover that those are the people that are stagnated in life. Life is moving. Every 24 hours is increasing every one of us. Your age is not decreasing. Very soon now, we will be greeting maybe some of us happy birthday. And that's to tell you that another 365 days has rolled away. And you are entering another 365 days. So you need to be able to approach life with the right mindset that I can make it. And be persistent. The more you are persistent, the more you begin to progress in life. I tell you, no matter the difficult situation that is going to confront you as you are progressing in life, the more you are persistent, you are doing it, 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 you are persistent. I can assure you, people will now come to respect you. People will now come to appreciate what you are doing. People that were not taking notice of what you were doing before, they will begin to take notice of you. I have a podcast that I started like 10, 12 years ago. Initially, whenever any people hear the podcast, they were just like, this guy just wants to say something. And consistently, I've been persisting for the past 12 years. These podcasts have been coming out on a daily basis. And today, a number of people globally is celebrating that particular podcast. Is because there has been persistency, there has been consistency. What you are not persistent on, what you are not consistent with, you cannot master that thing. And we all need to strive for mastery. There is no point that you want to, dominate, control people, direct people, that this is how this is done, this is how that is done. And you don't have a solid mastery of what you are talking about. No, it doesn't work that way. So you can make it. Continue to be persistent, continue to be consistent, and continue to do it. All you'll be doing is that this thing I know is the right thing for me to do. I'm persistent, I'm consistent. And I can assure you at the end of the day, you will come out a better person. Now, again, it's like someone that wants to become a medical doctor in life. You don't become a medical doctor over the night. You need to go to an elementary school. After your elementary school, you need to be enrolled in the high school. You write your high school exam, you go to the college or to the university. After the university, you go through all your housemanship, your housemanship. And at the end of the day, you will now become certified medical doctor. So you discover that you are reading consistently, you are persistent, there is a focus. That is what persistency will help you to get to in life. You become a focused person. And as the person that wants to become a medical doctor, is moving from one level to another level in that study, there is this joy that is coming into that person, that I am doing what I know will make me become a medical doctor. And by the time he even becomes a medical doctor, she becomes a medical doctor, and she has hospital and they start treating people, you discover that same process that he has been persistent with is what he will still use to be able to treat the patients that are coming to the hospital. So when you are a persistent person, you now have what I call the blueprint of what can make a man succeed in life. That I have handled this task, I have been on this for years, and today I can assure you, if you don't want to fail, do it this way. I'm very sure a number of us, we must have used some products that you will see written on the label of the product since 1850, since 1750. Those people have been persistent. Initially, when they started, it may not look like they are making any headway, but they keep telling themselves, I can make it. I can make it. We will make it. This product will make it. This product will sell. This product will become a global product. Even if you go globally, there are waters that since 1850. There are teas that are since 1750. And if you taste them, the same taste, they have been persistent. the tastes have not changed, and their clientele keep increasing on a daily basis. So thank you for listening to this particular episode of I Can Make It, and I want you to please tell yourself that I can make it, and be persistent. You already have what it takes, so continue to do what is right, and I can assure you, as you are persistent, you are consistent, you will surely make it. Thank you so very much. See you in the next episode.
Let's begin with the basics. The federal government recently raised the import tariff on several goods, including vehicles, food products, and industrial equipment.
The increase is part of efforts to boost local production and reduce dependency on foreign goods. However, many businesses argue that Nigeria is not yet self-sufficient, making higher tariffs a burden rather than a solution.
The government also recently increased the import duties by 22.24%. That was in December 2023, and that's actually been like the third hike in a year, like we've had in a very short period. Now,
records show that the cost of clearing a 40-foot container rose from 7.3 million naira to 23 million naira. The new exchange rate for import duties is pegged at 952 naira per dollar.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at some of these things, you start questioning yourself, because the marketers are complaining that they get these goods outside Nigeria, maybe from Turkey, maybe from China, at very cheap rates. But when it gets to the port, you have to just think about it. For clearing a 40-feet container, instead of 7 million, they are paying 25 million. And all of these things will be given to the end users. And that's why Nigerians are complaining at the end of the day.
Now, the question is, are these tariffs truly necessary for economic growth? Or are they just another way for the government to generate revenue? To continue this conversation, we'll have a guest and an expert's opinion. So I want you to take a listen to our Vox Pop.
We start with fuel. I use a car. Imagine when I used to buy fuel for 87, from there to 147. Now we are buying for 1,000 and close to 1,000 recently. Do you know? So probably it's going to affect everything now. People are bringing goods from maybe their farm products from the village to the urban areas. Do you get me? So they spend a lot of money on transport, and that will be fixed into the cost of what they're carrying, which is the product. Be it plantain, rice, beans, yam, whatever. I can get a set of yam here before for within the range of 4,500. But now I bought today, not even a set, just 5 tubers of yam. I bought for 13,000. It's affecting me. It's just that maybe I can afford it, but I'm trying to imagine the people that cannot afford it. Do you get me? If you cannot afford it, probably they will look for alternative, and that may be stealing, looking for somebody to steal from, dupe from, and a lot of things. So what will I say to them? That let them try and help. Do you get me? $1 is about, I changed for 1,660 last time. It's too much. Do you know, if they can bring dollar to at least 800 plus, we may have things to buy cheaper, because the dollar affected the price of the crude. And once you touch any refinery, they say they are buying crude at so amount. So probably that is it.
Almost everything has increased, but then we must understand that in life, every day comes with its own challenges. And the reason why we could not be able to adapt to this system, to my own opinion, is because we're not prepared towards things like this, because every day comes with a problem and a solution. So we don't expect to use yesterday's solution for today's problem. What I'm saying is policy. If issues like this arise, we need people that formulate theories. For me, I'm a theorist. So we formulate theories for problems, and we equally formulate theories for solutions.
Many thanks for staying put. This is Good Morning Africa, coming your way from Housing TV Africa, your first in housing news. Now, from the Vox Pop, you would agree with us that it's clear that many Nigerians are unhappy with the tariff hike.
Yeah, absolutely. So many people are complaining that the tariffs are getting too much. And as a country that, sadly, a lot of the things we do are imported. A lot of the things we use, there's hardly a day that you make use of materials that you don't have one material that was imported, maybe from China, from Turkey, from one place or the other. And when we keep having these tariffs, without working on our local production, Nigerians are saying that it looks as if the government wants to run them out of business, and that's the report we got from the Vox Pop.
Back then, you know, I remember some people would say even to speak is imported, but I think that story has changed, because I don't want to believe that as a country we're still importing.
And we have a
we're still importing to speak. All right, thank you so much for coming. We have a guest in the studios with us, Honorable Nonso Okeke, one-time governorship aspirant, Action Democratic Party, Anambra State. Thank you, Honorable Nonso Okeke, for coming.
Thank you so much, my people. You know, by way of introduction, Honorable Nonso Okeke, I'm also a developer. I have some estates within an area called Guruku in Nasarawa State, just a neighborhood of Abuja and Karishi.
Okay, so you are saying all of this because you are, I'm sure maybe since you're into the real estate, we're looking at importation increment and its effect on building materials. So you'll be giving us quite some angle to that, to this topic. Now let me allow Ubong actually start off with his first set of questions.
Thank you very much, Honorable, for coming. It's nice to see people who are interested in building a country, who's been involved in the political sector, because most times policies come from the political sector, and it trickles down even to the people, everyday people, and all of that. So let me first start by asking you, as somebody who's been involved in that system, do you think that this new policy, bringing new tariffs to the ports, trying to get revenue, the government says it's about revenue, do you think it is in the best interest of Nigerians or Nigeria as a country at a time like this?
Well, Mr. Obong, thank you for that question. I will start by saying categorically no. No, in the sense that those tariffs on the ports are very high, you know, considering the fact that Nigeria is a consuming economy. You know, we need to try to look at those tariffs, because they are really hurting the economy. You know, in fact, the presidency came up last 2 weeks to move the budget from 49 trillion naira to about 54.3 trillion or so. You know, so I sat back and asked myself, where will these augmentations come from? You know, just before we know the tariffs from the
Federal Inland Revenue, the customs, the ports.
The tariffs from those imported products and all that, you know, it's not doing us any good as a country. Why do I say that, Mr. Obong? You know, when you talk of tariffs are those taxes that you burden on importers, you know, and maybe I would say those guys are into importation. Maybe the guys from the southeast, majorly, they are the ones that engage in most of this import. You know, I have a lot of them as friends. When we sit down to discuss, they will tell me that, you know, the end user has to bear that burden, you know, and it's very unfortunate. You know, so in summary, what I'm saying is that those tariffs are not good for us as a country.
So should the government have provided incentives or infrastructure support before shooting up these tariffs?
Yeah, well, sometimes, you know, the essence of tariffs, you know, it could go two ways. Maybe you want to show up your revenue, or you want to avoid your country being a dumping ground. You know, but on this particular sector, the housing, we already have a deficiency of about 17.4 million, you know, deficiencies in the housing sector. You know, we're trying to bridge this gap. You know, you and I will be sincere to ourselves that from the past 6 months or 1 year, most people that pay rent have had their rent skyrocketed by over 100%. You know, and you are not going to blame anybody for this. These are the spiral effects of these tariffs. You know, for God's sake, we have an Ajokuta steel rolling mill that, you know, does about 1 billion naira in recurrent expenditure, paying staff salary for doing nothing. You know, we have the Takwe iron ore there, you know, lying redundant. You know, where we have a ceramics company around. We have the Royal Ceramics somewhere around Suleja, just entering into Zuba. You know, there you have a run by Lebanese. So what is the government trying to do by raising these tariffs? What you are trying to tell these guys is that, you know, they should fold up and stop production. So what I'm telling in summary from your question, my dear sister, is that these tariffs are not doing us any better. You know, it's not about building those infrastructures. It's about making these tariffs come to the lowest minimum. You know, let it not be all about targets. Let it not be allowed target to the customs. Let it be about the fiscal economy, and let it all be about the real-time economy.
Okay, you know, you've mentioned something about the housing deficit that we have in the country,
Yeah.
about 20 million. According to the minister, I listened to him last week, Daginwa, the minister for housing.
Okay.
He said that we need about 5 years, if we're even doing 500,000 units, about 5 years to be able to, you know, show up the housing deficits we have in Nigeria. So that's a big market already, and for somebody who's involved there, you understand the cost of production, cost of getting materials. But I want to ask you this question now. The government is saying that we are trying to discourage importation,
Okay.
and also raise revenue. Don't you think this is a good policy if we can, as a country, discourage importation? Because what are the things we are importing for housing? We are importing, you know, all of these ceramics, the tables, the materials, the marbles, and all of these things can be done in Nigeria. So why do we import them? Can't we have people like you who are in the political sector, talk to your friends, come around, get some companies working, and produce these things in Nigeria? Don't you think that's a policy that can make people think around that circle?
Well, my very good friend Obong, you have shed a very good light on how this thing should work. But if wishes were horses, then we'll all ride on it, you know. Why do I say that? Is because Nigeria as a country, hardly, with the band A, band B, band C, hardly gets around 8 to 10 hours light every day in most parts of the country. And of course, you need energy to be able to drive some of these factories, you know. Like the popular one I am talking about, because I had something to do with Royal Ceramics. You know, I know Royal Ceramics in Suleja runs on diesel almost 5 times a week. And you know the cost per liter of diesel. You know, when you do that multiplication, you see that Royal Ceramics is almost spending all its profits on running on these things, on diesel. So I think what you are saying on the middle term range is supposed to be a good idea, whereby you discourage importations of these materials like the tiles and the plumbing materials and all that. But my dear brother, the power and the energy is not there. The power and the energy is not there. So we need to work on the power and the energy sector. You know, the other time I was interacting with Bartolome Naji, Geometrics Power. You know, I found out that Aba has enjoyed one month uninterrupted power. You know, and that's a good one for Aba. You know, that's a good one for Aba. And if Nigeria as a country can allow state governments to handle this power sector, then it will have a rippling effect on this construction sector, because it's telling a lot on everybody. Nobody can do any meaningful manufacturing without electricity. Thank you.
Very valid points. Thank you so much, Honorable Nonso Okeke. Now, moving on, let's talk about how this the tariff hikes affect Nigeria's competitiveness in global and regional trade.
Well, comparative cost analysis says that you know where you have your strengths compared to other countries. You know, so Nigeria has large deposits of these building materials, like for instance limestones. You know, sometimes when you go to these construction companies and see what they are doing, you know, they get these stones, you know, these chippings from the sites where they were awarded the contract, you know, and they even build this, they return this bill to the government, you know. So in looking at Nigeria compared to ECOWAS and Africa as a whole, you see that Nigeria is really blessed when it comes to these resources. When you look at bitumen, when you look at the components for cement and all that, you know, We have the Dangote and the Abdul Samad Rabiu, the Bua Cement, who are doing extremely well and servicing the regional markets in Africa. And another thing I would like to look at, it appears that cement is even cheaper in some of these African countries than Nigeria. So we really need to know what is the magic happening that these things are happening like this. So, but when you put in this comparative cost analysis amongst it, I think Nigeria is more in a position to become a construction hub in Africa. You know, at a point, Abuja was the fastest growing capital in Africa. You know, all of a sudden, I don't know whether it's like that now, you know, because we have emerging economies. You know, in fact, the Alliance for Sahel states are taking over, you know, seriously, comprising of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. You know, if you go there and witness the level of construction, especially Ouagadougou, I'll be in Ouagadougou by next month. You know, I have some business relationship there. If you see the level of construction going on there and the level of building going on there, you know that most of these countries are waking up. And because their leaders have decided to make the environment conducive for them. You know, so what we are asking simply is for us to get a favorable environment from our own government. And then I think we're going to get there. Because
certainly a favorable environment will prevent smuggling activities, black market activities. All right, Ubong.
Yeah, so I'd like to take some data now. Nigeria increased VAT from about 3% to about 4.5%. And we've been hearing recently, FAKE announced that telecom operations can also be increased for more than 10 years. They've not done any increment, so maybe we may be seeing some increment in purchasing data and all of that. And people are saying, I went on social media to check, people say Nigerians don't pay enough tax. There are people that are in that school of thought, because if you go to places like the UK, in the US, there's a lot of tax paying here and there. So people are saying maybe it's about time we pay enough tax, and if we do, we are paying as much tax as possible, we'll be able to better participate in the democratic process and better hold government responsible, because we know that we are paying the taxes. So do you think that maybe this is what could be a positive thing? When we start paying more taxes, we'll be more involved in political processes, and peradventure, perhaps we'll have more political leaders that will be able to lead the people.
Well, Mr. Obong, you have just given a very good insight. You know, most advanced countries all over the world run through taxation. You know, but these are countries where the leaders are being held accountable. You know, I don't want this to be seen as a political statement. You know, about 100 million persons within 2 years have been moved into extreme poverty in Nigeria. You know, and what does this imply? It implies that the per capita income of Nigeria is very weak and cannot even take us home. You know, so, and there is a popular saying, Mr. Obong, nemo dat quad non habet, which means you cannot give what you don't have. You know, so if you are taxing whoever, you know, you need to make sure that that person earns very well. You know, you need to make sure that the person is able to, that whatever you are paying as salary or as wages is able to take that person home before you can tax. You know, so what am I saying? Extra taxation at this point, Mr. Obong, will amount to serious frustration on the people. I'll give you an instance. You know, there are about 3 to 4 toll gates now running from Garaku to Benue State. You know, the level of frustration that people are witnessing there is not actually what to write home. People are enjoying the road quite alright, but when they look at their slim finances, you know, they calculate 500 for the little saloon car, 500 times 4. That's about 2,000 naira, you know. So Nigerians would normally do those mathematics and not find it easy. But what I'm trying to let you know is that Nigerians are people that love, that you can govern easily, Mr. Obong. If you give Nigerians the right remuneration, if you reward them for what they have done. I don't think Nigeria, I'm a politician, we talk to people. We know what people tell us. You know, when we go for campaigning, Nigerians are very, very easy people.
All right, if you've just joined us, this is Good Morning Africa, and we have been looking at increments in importation tariffs and its effects on building materials, and doing perfectly well, doing good justice to our focus this morning has been Honorable Nonso Okeke. Let's take this break. We also have a financial expert share his opinion on this matter. Please stay with us.
Well, my thought to the new tax reform is that all the provisions in that tax reform bill are not all that bad. Not all of them, but I think government should tinker with some of them, adjust some of the proposed bills, like that have to do with the value-added tax. I think today Nigerians are really not finding it easy because of inflation and the lack of disposable income. And this has also affected many manufacturing companies because they have a lot of unsold goods in their warehouses. And of course, when goods are tied down, it means the companies is likely, or the company is not going to make profit. So when you run a business without profit, what happens is that the business will go under. So what I'm trying to say is that Nigerians do not have the disposable income to afford goods that are produced by manufacturers. And more also, increasing the VAT percentage means that Nigerians are going to pay more for goods, for goods that are going to for goods and services. And what that means is that there will be increase in goods and services, and this will be out of reach for many Nigerians. So I think government should try as much as possible to ensure that some of those provisions that increase VAT, that have to do with the increase of VAT, to me should be expunged from that bill. One, government should provide incentives such as tax break for developers, for real estate developers. What I mean by tax break is, okay, you are just starting this business for so and so period, do not pay tax so that the business can grow. And when you also give the real estate developer tax break, they will be able to provide affordable houses for Nigerians. It will reduce the cost of housing, the cost of acquiring houses by Nigerians, especially the low-income earners. And also it will help them to maximize their profit, because when they have the returns on their investment is okay, they would like to invest more in real estate, and this will help to mitigate the housing deficit in Nigeria. Invariably, Nigerians with especially the low-income earners will be able to afford or own houses of their own.
Visit Housing TV Africa on YouTube and click on the subscribe button. Subscribe to Housing TV Africa to stay updated on latest happenings in Nigeria's housing sector. Follow our social media pages, like and share our posts. On Facebook, Housing TV Africa. On Twitter, Housing TV Africa. Instagram, Housing TV Africa.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Housing TV Africa. Good Morning Africa is actually the program. And today we're looking at the increase in tariff and how it relates to Nigerians, how it affects our economy. and what we can do as Nigerians to move forward. We have somebody in the house, Honorable Nonso Okeke, who's actually helping us make sense of this discussion. Thank you so much, Honorable, for your time.
And so far, today's discussion has shown that while the government aims to boost local industries, the increase in import tariffs has created economic challenges that cannot be ignored.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm back to you now. So we've talked about the place of taxation, and you talked about even the routes. Let's talk about transportation and how it relates to building materials and how all of these things link up together, because you hear people complain a lot about transportation and say, it's because of transportation. What can we do working around that system to make sure that we bring down transportation and we are able to move these products from one place to the other?
Yeah, well, we know that transportation affects every sector of the economy. Transportation has affected us seriously in Nigeria, and that's relatively because of the hike in the PMS, which one can say has moved over 600% within a period of 2 years. So when we look at these things, we are glad to hear that the Port Harcourt and the Warri refinery is on, even though we have not seen any relationship in price adjustment, And also we are happy that the Dangote refinery is on too. And I know Abdul Samad Rabi is doing something very massive in Port Harcourt and Akwa Ibom State, which he'll be rounding up very soon. We pray it all comes on board, so that one can have a relief in this fuel something. What am I trying to say? Fuel and diesel are the major things we use in movement from one place to the other. And when these essential commodities are very high, Mr. Obong, who is going to pay the rippling effect? There is no port here in Abuja or anywhere in the north. Everything comes in through Lagos, and before it gets to every part of the country, you must pay for those haulage fees and all those things. For instance, if you bring in tires from Spain, or ceramics or glazed walls and all those things from Spain, you have to pay for a trailer. A trailer load from Lagos to Abuja is not less than =1 million naira. So when you do that, when you cost that, factor that into the tariff you have even paid, you see that at the end of the day, the housing deficit will further slide if we don't act fast. And one of the basic essentials of good life, number one, is housing. And if we don't get this housing, I'm afraid that the people will get more frustrated, because most people are becoming homeless by the day because they can't pay this rent. A landlord that has suffered to build his house, you can't come and tell him stories on how to do adjustment on his rent. So what we are saying is that the government needs to look into this oil sector to see what they can do to bring down the price of PMS and the price of AGO down drastically, so that these things will have a rippling effect on this material that are being brought in from outside the country. Thank you.
Sometimes I recall just 2 years back, we're paying per liter was not up to 200 naira. What we're paying for a liter of fuel, and today the story has changed. Now I'd like to ask, do you think Nigerian manufacturers are ready to meet the demand of goods previously imported? You said something about the environment being conducive enough, we having energy infrastructure and all of that. So do you think, or would this rather shoot up, drive up local prices?
Joyce, Nigerians are very hardworking people. If you get to Royal Ceramics and you see how these boys work themselves every day, these young people in the factory there, Nigeria, if you pass through Bila, you see a lot of cement and distant factories.
Sorry. I want you to skip out Royal Ceramics.
Okay.
Nigerians are very hardworking people. Don't call them. That's free advert.
Okay. Nigerians are very hardworking people. When you go to most of these factories where productions are done, you see that Nigerians are ready to work.
That's true.
They are ready to work, but like I said, if we can get this right environment, and conducive import tariffs, let the government work on these tariffs so that these things will come down.
Okay, so I'd like to also come back with these questions now. Also look at the data. We've seen Federal Inland Revenue Service, we've seen the Customs Service, we've seen all of these services declaring profits that they've never declared before in Nigeria, in excess of billions of naira. In fact, when the president came back to represent the budget, that was one of the things he mentioned, that there have been some profit that has been, you know, declared by customs, by FRS and all of this. So, meaning that this, with the increase in tariff, we are going to have more profits from customs. So, having more money to put into infrastructure, don't you think that is a good economic stimulator? Or would we rather say you are robbing Peter to pay Paul?
Exactly, I go with you, Joyce. You are robbing Peter to pay Paul. Why am I saying you are robbing Peter to pay Paul? You know, there is abject poverty in Nigeria. Over about 180 million persons are in poverty already in Nigeria. And how did we arrive at this? You know, we arrive at this through basically excessive taxation. You know, we arrive at this through excessive taxation. You know, if you put custom on target, if you put FRS on target, you know, it's good, but it's not the best. You know, I think you just need to let them know to sit up on their duty rather than putting them on targets that, you know, will make them, you know, to keep scampering for where to get this thing. Because at the end of the day, that businessman who is doing that importation will tell you that the end user will bear this cost. And who are the end user? Joyce, you are the end user. Obong, you are the end user. Myself. You know, if we continue like this, then it will be difficult for us to have new property owners in Nigeria. If you go around the city of Abuja or the Lagos, you will see a lot of young men who are distributing flyers. And when you collect these flyers, look at it, they are real estate companies. You know, what this implies is that the sales of properties have dropped tremendously. People are no longer patronizing this thing because they are all left, right, and center, sharing flyers, doing all form of marketing. You know, the spending power, the purchasing power is not there to go to do all these purchases now. So what the government needs to do is to look into this tariff. You know, let FIRS and let custom, let them not be strangled because they fear for their job too. If I don't meet this tariff, I may be posted to Sokoto, I may be posted to somewhere I will not even know what is happening again. That's why they do all manner of things in Lagos to make these things, to meet up this target. It's now, not actually good for the sector.
Thank you so much for that. Speaking contextually, imagine a developer who maybe 5 years ago or a decade ago pegged a particular facility at a certain amount, and then today, for that facility to be ready, you know, and delivered, he now has to pay extra for fittings and, you know, imported products, which of course he's not going to go back to those people who probably subscribed to pay more. So I think it's actually a roller coaster of a chain ring whereby everybody is affected. So the government has to do something about it. In as much as we would also love to generate more income as a nation and have a larger revenue, but I mean, let's look at the everyday user.
You know,
some of us have not built houses yet. Some people have built. Some people want to build more. So how are they going to put up these buildings if to get a pack of tiles, you know, imported tiles, will be cutting our necks?
You know, also we've heard from the Ministry of Communication. They've actually said that there've been more money given to state governors since this president came into power. More money given to state governors to go back to the states and work on infrastructure. Like I mentioned, people have said, maybe some economists have also argued this, if you have more money, could inject it into the economy. Don't you think it is a human problem that we have people that are given resources to go do things, and at the end of the day, they end up not doing this thing? Because let's do some comparison. Some African countries tax more than Nigeria. The developed countries, we know, for instance, UK, we know their taxation, student tax, all of this. But it seems Nigeria, some people even tax to get things like bread. But it seems Nigeria is a little bit liberal when it comes to taxation, and looking at having more than 200 million people and the kind of tax we pay. Many businesses don't even pay tax. They run around and all of this because maybe we don't have a social system that can know the taxes that people pay. So don't you think about, we can start talking about the kind of people we put into political leadership and they are not able to invest the money and resources doing the right thing?
Well, Ubong, you have spoken very well. You know, at the fulcrum of every successful every successful governance or government is the leadership. You know, I can count our 5 state governments who, having received, you know, that increased FAC, is doing well tremendously. You know, unfortunately, I'm a progressive. You know, I belong to a particular political party different from that of Enugu state government. You know, but I stand to tell you that the man is doing well in terms of infrastructure. You know, he's doing well in Enugu state. If you go to Delta state, he's also doing well. You know, so these are people. If you go to Lagos state, you see a lot of developmental strides going on. If you go to Abia state, you see a lot of jobs going on. You know, so this is leadership. You know, this lies in leadership. So I think in summary, we must begin to rethink leadership. We must begin to rethink leadership and to rethink the kind of persons that we are bringing into leadership position. You know, like you spoke about some other African countries that pay this thing, a lot of tax. You know, they have taken time to study day by day this alliance for Sahel states that just pulled out from ECOWAS. Ubonga, I want to give you a bad news. They are not coming back to ECOWAS again because they feel they are liberated. They are liberated from the bourgeoisies, from the comprador bourgeoisies that are in France, that have been squeezing out surplus value from them. You know, France have been squeezing out surplus value from most of this ECOWAS nation, and it's just like the veil have cleared from their eyes. You know, if you get to Burkina Faso, for example, I keep making an example because Burkina Faso has made tremendous progress under 2 years. There are about 2 tomato factories going on there. All the whole roads in Ouagadougou are being expanded and being worked on. You know, there is a gold factory now in Burkina Faso. All these things happen within 2 years. You know, this is purposeful leadership, Ubo. And this thing is gradually blowing across. It has blown to Mali. It has blown to Niger. The other day, the young man from N'Djamena, Chad, Idris Deby, said he's not going to, that in fact he's leaving France. You know, that in fact he's contemplating to leave France too. France will leave his country. So what I'm trying to tie all these things to these countries is that the time has come that we as Africans need to look inwards. We need to look inwards to try to liberate our people, draw our people out of the... If the West is not giving us what we want, let us go to the East and romance with the East. What do I mean by the East? We can look towards Russia, China and all those places. Let them teach us how these things are done. You know, because I know these guys are very good. They will always tell you how to go about most of these things. You know, so that's my own contribution on this.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. Let's quickly take a look into the short-term and long-term effects of the new exchange rate for import duties pegged at 925 naira per dollar. I'd like you to talk about that.
Well, it's staring me and you in the eye, Joyce. 1, high unemployment rate. 2, high cost of living. 3, we found out, like you complained, young people like us may not be able to build a house easily because we don't even have proper mortgage system in Nigeria. You know, in abroad, where they come out, they rejoice. I bought a car, I bought a house. You know, when you sit down and look into their social distance, you see that those things are tied to mortgage. But they know that once they enter into that, under 10-15 years, they will clear up those debts. But it's not the same. In Nigeria, you have to sweat blood from foundation to painting before you can build a house for yourself. You know, so that's why you see a lot of abandoned projects. That's another effect, a negative effect of this. Abandoned projects, left, right, and center. People will not be able to finish. It's even going to affect the government. Tell me how. The other day I was passing through Kaduna. There's a place called Nnamdi Azikiwe bypass. It's a 50-kilometer stretch. Anybody that knows Kaduna very well knows that there are 2 major roads in Kaduna. Either you are going through the town or you are going through the bypass. That Nnamdi Azikiwe bypass is being constructed by the Dave Umahi Concrete Initiative. You know, for about 2 years, that job has not even gone up to 5 kilometers. You know, that tells you that it is even going to affect the government because there will be a lot of variations on the side of the contractor. You will finish after 2 months. I can't do this thing again. Oh, Mr. Dave, please can you review this contract for me so that so these are the rippling effects. It's affecting everybody. So we need to go back to our drawing board and know how to lessen these things and strengthen our own internal factories and productions.
Now, do you think it is proper for landlords, homeowners who had built property, you are into the property business, who had properties some 5, 10, 15 years ago, to now, because of the new tariff, now, pay the price of their property higher than it was maybe 2, 3 months ago. Do you think it's a proper thing to do? They're not building new houses, they're not buying anything, they're not doing anything new to that property, but just because there's this announcement that there will be new tariff and they decide to skyrocket the prices of their properties.
No, well, Mr. Obong, well, morally, well, meanwhile, there's no morality so much in business, but morally, somebody who is in Nigeria is in Nigeria. A landlord who is in Nigeria is in Nigeria. He faces the same challenge you face getting to work every day, come back with the high cost of PMS and all that. The children are in school, the school fees is going up and every other thing. So this is an investment he has done, especially somebody who may have retired from active service and has this as his investment plans. What he does is that he will just wait for the slightest opportunity. And those of you in Abuja, Enugu, Lagos and Port Harcourt, which are about the fastest growing real estate areas in Nigeria, and Oka, you know what drives these things up. The agents are there who want a larger chunk of their agency fee. Once they hear this thing has increased, they will just tell the landlord, and they will try to convince the landlord to do increment on this thing.
That's
so this
true.
thing, it borders on how you as a person, how disciplined or how morally sound you are as a person. Looking at it at the business angle, I think every businessman would like to make profit with any trend that goes.
So our final question, could a gradual approach to tariff increases being a better strategy to balancing economic growth and public welfare?
Well, a little on this side, a little on that side. I agree with you, Joyce. You cannot completely rule out that you're not going to pay custom duties, excise rates, tariffs and tax levies and all that. You can't rule that out, But I think at the same time you need to do that pari passu. Knowing what is obtainable in your own country. Why you are doing this is good also that you try to work on those sectors that will enhance local production. Ajokuta has no reason to be moribund for over 20 years. National Iron Ore Complex, Itakwe, moribund. These things are places, they are places that we can, fabricate metals and some of these heavy ions that are needed in the construction industries. Our government also needs to look inwards to make these factories work. Let these factories work. If truly we can work on our refineries under a year and 2 years, then I think we can wake up to work on these factories. Let them start. The natural resources are there. Natural resources. Nigeria is blessed with bitumen, blessed with every kind of stones, tantalite, uranium, and every other kind of thing you need in the construction industry. So I think we really need to look more inwards than focusing on those tariffs.
Thank you so much, Honorable Nonso Okeke, one-time governorship aspirant with the Action Democratic Party, Anambra State. Thank you for your time on Good Morning Africa.
Thank you, Joyce.
It was a pleasure listening to you.
Thank you, Ubong. I'm pleased to be here.
Thank you. As businesses struggle with higher costs, consumers bear the brunt of rising prices. The big question remains, will these tariffs lead to economic growth or will they worsen the hardship for Nigerians?
Let's continue the conversation. What are your thoughts? Share with us on our social media platforms.
And that's it for today's edition of Good Morning Africa. Stay informed, stay engaged. We'll see you soon.
I'm Joyce Nwosu. Thanks for watching.
And my name is Ubong Usoro. Bye for now.